We actually loved Russell Simmons' tweet on the Lowe's controversy with the show All American Muslim. I want to show you his tweet first, and then we'll talk about it. Here's what Russell Simmons said. Just purchased the remaining spots for All American Muslim for next week. The show is now sold out. Keep your money, Lowe's, and we will keep ours. Look, Russell Simmons has been absolutely fantastic on so many different issues. I remember Zuccotti Park, where he went down there the first time they were going to raid it and stood in. He said, look, if New York City needs money for cleanup or something, I will volunteer the money. In this case, if you guys haven't heard of this, Lowe's pulled our ad from the show All American Muslim on TLC. It's because a hate group, Florida Family Association, and these days, unfortunately, family means hate in any title of they hate gay people, they hate Muslims. They put out this ridiculous propaganda that this show is going to lead to jihad. And Lowe's ridiculously pulled our ads from it. And that's why there's been so much controversy around it. And here comes Russell Simmons to the rescue, says, I'll buy the ads, right? Which I thought was a great move. What do you think, Dileep?
I think it's a great move, but just to clarify, it's actually even worse than that. It's not that the show's going to lead to jihad. It's that the show is somehow whitewashing the image of the dark Muslims of the world who really are aiming to kill us. So how dare you focus on the tiny minority you found who are all American and not make your show about the cells and cells and cells of terrorists in America today who are trying to kill us, which is a screed. This is also just on like a purely, let's the outrage at it for a second. Let's just look at it neutrally as a political thing for Lowe's. The minute you're going to start pulling your ads, you ought to have one review process. A, who has complained, okay?
You're right.
And what is their complaint? If their complaint is your show does not include enough examples of terrorists that equate with these good people on this show, that might be a complaint you crumple up and throw in the trash. This is not something you pull your ads over. You pull your ads over someone on that show says something so bigoted and so awful that it's incompatible with the values of the customers who come in your store. Now, the values of the people who go to Lowe's by and large are people who want to buy hardware. They're not really interested in whether you endorse or don't endorse a religion. But when you take a group of people and say, these people who are good people, I'm going to go ahead and agree with this argument. They're not representative of the evil that most of the people like them represent. You've waded way out in the weeds, and your advisors are idiots who are from this stupid association.
Right. And look, you have to understand, Florida Family Association gave absolutely no reasoning as to why the show...
It's indefensible.
I know. Like, they didn't even try. They weren't like, oh, and on the show they do something bad. Right. No, well, they're just Muslims.
They're Muslims.
Right.
No, I mean, I will defend them a little. What the people who are complaining about this, they're upset that shows like this, they create the false impression that Muslims are actually human beings, and that's dangerous.
Right.
And then if there's more shows like this on the air, it's going to make it so much harder to round you guys up after, when the time comes.
Well, if you leave the show on, you keep the advertising, you can go get them all at a Lowe's.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You can find them all in one place.
So, but look, let's keep it real again. Michael, if they took out the word, Florida Family Association took out the word Muslim and put in the word Jew in the same sentences and said, this shows Jews in a good light when obviously Jews have a Jewish agenda, all the same exact words they use.
Mel Gibson would donate.
Right. Mel Gibson buys out the rest of the spots.
Exactly. And that's the best point. And what Simmons has done is he's called out everybody, the NAACP, the Congress on Racial Equality, the Anti-Defamation League. And he said, listen, if this were the case, he's not even saying what you just asked. He's not saying if this were the case and it was Jewish, imagine the uproar, which of course is a valid point. And there are reasons why the uproar would be larger, because the infrastructure already exists there in a very well-financed way in America. But what he is saying, he's saying these are your brothers. These are people just like you. This is another group similar to you. You should be doing more. It's not the what if it were you. This is a call to arms. It is you.
It is you. You don't think it's misleading for the show? They show Muslims getting on airplanes and then the planes landing safely.
But listen, it's a great point that Michael's making, because Peter King was having the hearings in Congress about how dangerous are Muslims, and this is part of the phenomenon, and they fear-monger, etc. Now, there's more right-wing terrorist attacks inside the United States than there are Muslim terrorist attacks inside the United States. Shockingly, he's not doing a hearing about that. Right. He's also not doing a hearing about the IRA, which he used to raise money for, which is also a terrorist organization. But if I was to go to Peter King's hearings, and I was Muslim, I'm agnostic now, right? But I would say, hey, listen, I am 100% American. You don't get to question me. You don't get to say, hey, how American are you? I'm just as American as anybody else. I would argue Peter King and the Florida Family Association are less American than us because they fundamentally miss the point of America, which is that we're all citizens here that are absolutely equal.
See, it's hard not to play their game, right? They're not American.
Well, I'll go right back at them. You know, people say, hey, you shouldn't do that. No, they are. They're un-American.
I think the most offensive part of this whole thing is the swiftness of their reaction and how fast they pull their ads without even bothering to process what these people were saying and what they were suggesting. What they really are suggesting is that this show needs to be leavened with another half hour that just focuses on the terrorists that live in your neighborhoods. You know, like it is the most preposterous suggestion for a activist group to make towards a network. Like, you talk about entertainment, right? Most of the time a boycott starts, it's because something has been aired that is so grandiosely offensive to the people who are going to watch that network. We're talking about people who are like going around in minivans picking up their kids. Like this, how is this in any way what's offending America today?
This is enriching America. I mean, this is an opportunity. That's one of the sort of the great things about cable television is there's so much on that you can see the sort of the normalcy of of a family doing that.
That's so true. But the first time that I saw the ads, before there was any controversy or anything, I saw the ads for the show and I thought, this is going to be the most boring show ever. Oh, look, like, hey, look at that Muslim. He went to go pick up a sandwich. Like, whoa.
Yeah, exactly.
On the other hand, look at the rest of television, right? All the reality shows. I once saw one where it was like on Indiana teenagers. I was like,
Can we just say something? This language of Muslims and Islamophobia, it's coded language. Because we're not talking about Muhammad Ali. Okay, they're not talking about like I'm really afraid of a Farrakhan coming and blowing up my house. It's Arab. It's you're Arab, you're Muslim, you're in this hybrid of people I don't know because maybe I don't live in Michigan where there's a lot of Arabs around me. You dress that way. You do something and identify yourself differently.
although that is kind of funny how they dress.
Look, aesthetically, you can say whatever you want. I mean, yeah, sure. Lots of people dress lots of ways. You know.
They should go to Lowe's and buy a mirror.
What about the guys whose pants are falling down? They dress that way. That's as offensive as anything to me.
It's much more offensive. Because I have no interest in their boxers. One last thing about this. I should say one last point about this that has to be worked in. American Muslims spend $33 billion a year on housing and housing services, which I'm blown away by.
That's amazing.
Didn't mean blown away, but but that's a tremendous amount of money. That compared to a rinky-dink Florida organization, which by the way is a bunch of liars because they claim 65 out of the 67 sponsors dropped out. We actually did research on the Young Turks on Current. It's not true at all. We called McDonald's, Sears. They're like, we didn't pull out. What the hell are they talking about, right? So that tiny group versus $33 billion in shopping and housing area. It's such a bad business decision.
You're also tearing at the fiber of America. You're saying these people, actually, you're really great people, but you're not representative of your people. We need to find someone not like you, someone who's a horror,
Yeah, that's the worst part of it. So we'll leave it on that point. And you know what? I actually want to do one more thing. I want to tweet out to Russell Simmons. We wrote this ahead of time. Because I just think that it was such a great thing to do on his part that we should return it. So we're tweeting back at him. Watch this. I'm sending.
Wow.
Send.
Wow, technology.
Okay. Russell Simmons, you've been tweeted by The Point.